I'm Cullen Weezy, and this is my persuasive speech about global warming and its impact on sea level rise. Here's my audience again. Over the millennia, Earth's global temperature has fluctuated. We've had ice ages, and we've had times of serious drought, periods of increased warmth as we see today. Despite the fluctuations, we cannot ignore the significant data that points to the impact of global warming on the level of the sea. So you ask, what is global warming? Well, there's certain causes of global warming. According to NASA, the main cause of the current global warming trend is humans' expansion of the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is the process by which harmful gases are trapped in the Earth's atmosphere by an invisible field of greenhouse gases, which include carbon and oxygen. Now, proofs of global warming actually happening. So pertinent to my speech, we have melting sea ice and glacial ice. But those aren't the only factors. Skeptical science actually has a list of 10 other indicators of global warming, but I'm just going to do three more important ones. And that's an increase in land surface air temperatures, sea surface temperatures, and sea level. Now, what affects the sea level actually is the melting of glacial ice. And one misconception that a lot of people have or will refute to the fact of global warming happening is that although glacial ice in itself is decreasing, the expanse of sea ice around the Arctic is expanding. And it's very true, but it still is not a factor with the sea level rise. See, sea ice is just frozen salt water. So whatever that is frozen over or melts, it's as if you had glass in a cup of water and it melted and it retains similarly the same level of water. Now, fresh water coming from the glacier melts and icebergs that are fracturing off of larger glaciers are more of an example of like a filled cup of water, and then you add ice cubes to it, which would cause it to overflow. Now, the actual process of the melting of glaciers is the actual melting of the glaciers is a process not really known by a lot of people. I mean, it's obvious that if it's global warming, warmer temperatures are going to cause the exposed face of glaciers to melt and produce runoff water. But the major contribution is actually given to warmer waters around Antarctica. Due to global warming, current changes and wind patterns have caused higher rise in water temperatures around the Antarctic coastline. And actually what it does is those warmer waters eat underneath the glaciers that extend past the actual body of land, surface land itself. And as they root to the land, it actually uses the weight of the remaining ice on top to fracture off, producing an iceberg. Now, these are those icebergs that sink the Titanic, the icebergs that are 20 miles long. Those are something we really have to worry about, because if those drift into an area of even warmer water than what is around the Arctic, we're in for real trouble. Now you may think, what are the effects of actual sea level rising? What it's going to rise a few inches, like it's the whole ocean. Have more than most of the world is the ocean. But the Washington Post actually conducted research and claimed that if carbon emissions are not cut in half by 2100, the rise of sea level could double previous predictions. And actually, that prediction is about 6 foot. And just to put it into perspective of how that could affect low-lying areas and the coastal areas, the majority of the city of New Orleans is either at sea level or below sea level. So we're talking about a 6 foot rise here. Not only does that put New Orleans in water, it puts New Orleans underwater and areas around it too. The same would happen with the Florida Keys and other low-lying areas around the world. I mean, it could affect nearly 13 million people around America and also the world. Now, this is all speculation, and it's speculation on what could happen, because no one can predict the future. It could increase, or we could cut carbon emissions, and it could cut back on sea level rise. But what is true right now is that the greenhouse effect is warming the Earth. The greenhouse effect that's warming the Earth is causing for warmer temperatures and drastic climate changes that are affecting humanity and causing natural phenomena that normally wouldn't. This sea level rise is accelerating, and to stop it, we have to cut emissions and other polluting uh, mechanics. Um, but sea level is rising at an accelerated rate, and the Arctic is melting. Thank you. I don't know what they did.